Go.
Hi mustard seed students, welcome back. Today we're going to do a fun experiment in our backyard. We're going to find a tree and we want to identify the species. If you have a little field guide like this or a little book, that can be helpful, or ChatGPT can also be very helpful. So you're going to want to find the species of the tree, and we're going to do a calculation and we're going to find out how old this tree is. And this is something, remember, that we spoke about in class that paleontologists also use, but on dinosaurs, to find out how old the dinosaurs are. So instead of cutting into a perfectly good fossil, they can use what is called a growth factor, a known growth factor that they figured out for a particular species of dinosaurs, like a T-Rex, and then they can apply that to all T-Rexes to kind of estimate, it's a gross estimate for sure, estimate the age of the dinosaur. So we're going to do that with the tree. So the first thing you want to do is to measure the circumference. An arborist calls this, people who study trees, arborists, they call this diameter at breast height. So that's what we're going to find out right now, the diameter at breast height. In order to find out the diameter of the tree, we first need to measure the circumference of the tree. You want to measure it at breast height, which is about 4 feet 5 inches, and wrap your piece of string or measuring tape, and we got about 56 inches on this tree. Okay, so I'm going to show you the calculations. I'm also going to send it to you in the link. So Noah's filming for me here. Can you get this in the shot pretty good, Noah?
Yeah.
Okay.
In.
So here's the formula for aging trees. We want to find out the diameter, and how we find out the diameter is taking the circumference and timesing it by pi, which is 3.14. So we have our circumference of the tree, 56 inches, and we're going to divide it by pi, 3.14, and so we have 17.83 inches, and that equals the diameter at breast height. We then take the diameter, the diameter at breast height, and times it by the growth factor of this tree. So you're going to look online, you're going to find out what your specific tree is and find out their specific growth factor. Sometimes in general, like this pine, it's a Aleppo pine. They don't have an exact growth factor for Aleppo pine, but you can use the growth factor for moderately growing pines. And so that's what we did. We just used the growth factor for pines that are generally moderately fast in growth. So we have the 17.83 inches, and we times it by the growth factor of 5. And so we get 89 years old. So this Aleppo pine in the backyard is 89 years old. Isn't that pretty awesome and pretty old? And so, like one of the mamas was saying, this is a gross estimate because there's a lot of environmental factors that can affect the growth rate of a tree, like the sunlight and water and competing trees, and if it's growing in the forest versus if it's growing in urban areas and that sort of thing. So it's just a rough estimate, but it's a really fun experiment to do. So I will send you guys a link with the handout too, with this information. But first you want to find the circumference of the tree. You want to divide it by pi, and then you use that number that you find and times it by the growth factor of the tree. So this first tree is 89 years old. So I hope you guys have a little fun with this, and let me know what you find out in class next Tuesday. Bye guys. Okay, bye.